Hi everyone, my name's Hunter Lee, and I'm the owner of Flourish JH, a life coaching and mindfulness business here in the Tetons. And I wanted to talk to us today a little bit about resourcing. Resourcing is going to be our toolkit for times when we experience high levels of distress, things like fear and anxiety. When we experience high levels of fear and anxiety, we can sometimes lose our ability to regulate our bodies, our thoughts, and our emotions. And this can really come into play when we think about skiing, right? We're in high states of anxiety and fear around a race, around recent performances, or training. We can sometimes get dysregulated and lose our ability to make reasonable and rational decisions, as well as regulate our body, our thoughts, and our emotions. Before I go into this toolkit, I want to explain a little bit about how we get dysregulated. I'm going to use a hand model of the brain by Dan Siegel. So, the hand model of the brain breaks the brain down into three different regions. We have the brainstem down here. We have the limbic system here. The brainstem and the limbic system are the oldest parts of our brain. The limbic system is about 200 million years old, and the brainstem is about 300 million years old. Now, the limbic system and the brainstem are responsible for things like our emotions, our bodily functions like breathing and our heart beating that we don't think about, happen automatically. Also responsible for our fight, flight, and freeze responses to really distressing and difficult experiences. The fingers represent the cortex, which is the newest part of our brain. It's located in the front of the brain, right behind the forehead. Now, the cortex is responsible for making sure that all the parts of the brain act in harmony. It's also responsible for our rational thinking mind, right? So when our cortex is functioning properly, our body is regulated, our emotions are regulated, and we're responding to the world around us using all of the knowledge and skills that we've accumulated in our life so far. Right? Now, some of your teachers and some of your parents might not agree that you're fully rational human beings, but basically when our cortex is running properly, we're doing our best and we're making pretty reasonable decisions about how we move through the world. When we experience really difficult and distressing emotions like fear or anxiety, our limbic system and our brainstem start to take over. They start to fire in a way that starts to kind of pump our cortex out of the equation. Right? And while this is happening, we can feel that we're hanging on, we're trying to respond to the situation, but we're starting to lose control a little bit. If we think about it with a skiing metaphor, when you're really far out there on your edges and you can start to feel them go, you're still hanging on, you're still skiing until the moment that they fully go. And that is when, as Dan Siegel says, we flip our lids. When we flip our lids, we lose rational control of the situation. We are unable to regulate our body, minds, and emotions in a way that is wise and skillful, right? And this is really important when we think about skiing, right? We have experiences where we may be nervous or fearful before a race about how the season's going in general, and we start to lose our ability to ski well and perform well from a place of calm and ease. This also happens in the rest of our lives, right? We may have fear or anxiety around schoolwork, around tests and exams. We may have fear or anxiety in our social situations with our friendships. We may have fear or anxiety when we go home about how we're dealing with our parents and our chores and all the things that our home life has to bring. Life can be difficult sometimes. What resourcing allows us to do is that when we feel these intense, emotional, distressing experiences coming up, we can use our breath, our mind, our body to down-regulate to a place of calm and ease where we can respond skillfully to whatever distressing experience is causing us to feel these difficult emotions. So I'm going to start with 3 tools today. The first one is belly breathing. Now, you may have heard of belly breathing, but I'm going to give us a quick tutorial and then explain when and how we should use this tool. So, if you want to find a comfortable place to sit, you can do this with me. We'll place one hand on the belly, and we're going to breathe deeply in through the nose, allowing our belly to expand, and then on the exhale, we're going to allow the belly to relax. We're going to take long, slow, deep breaths here, feeling the belly expand and relax. So, in through the nose and out through the nose. Feeling the belly expand on the inhale and relax on the exhale. So this is a great tool to use when you have a moment to step away from the situation, right? No one wants to look super weird, like walking around with a bunch of other people with their hand on their belly, taking deep breaths. But if you can remove yourself from a situation that's distressing, right? Maybe you can go into a tent, you can find some space in your house, in your home. And it usually takes about 10 deep belly breaths to bring us back down from the edge of flipping our lid. Okay. The second tool I want to introduce today is box breathing. Again, this is a tool that some of you might have heard of, but I'm going to go over it again for those who've heard of it before or for the first time if it's new for you. Box breathing is a breathing technique where we breathe in for a certain amount of time, hold for a certain amount of time, exhale for a certain amount of time, hold for a certain amount of time. So there's 4 steps to this breathing technique, and it's called box breathing. So what we're going to do today is we're going to inhale for 3 seconds, hold for 3 seconds, exhale for 3 seconds, and then hold for 3 seconds. Okay, when you're ready, inhale, 2, 3, pause, 2, 3, exhale, 2, 3, pause, 2, 3, inhale, 2, 3, pause, 2, 3, exhale, 2, 3, pause, 2, 3. Allowing your breathing to return to its natural state. Now, this is a technique that we can actually use in a lot of different situations, right? This is something that we can do in the classroom, at a race, at the top of a line. This is something that we can employ pretty much anywhere, right? And if we learn to use this technique in situations where we're not distressed, it's gonna come to mind to us easier when we start to feel difficult, heightened emotions. So this is something that we want to practice in times where we're feeling good and calm so that it's available to us when we need it. Okay, the third technique I want to introduce today is a visualization, and it's called safe person or safe being. I'm going to ask us to visualize someone that we feel safe around, or it might be a pet or an animal. And we're going to stay with that being for a little bit and then come back to the room together. So if you feel comfortable and ready, you can allow your eyes to close. If it feels better to leave your eyes open, you can find a gentle downward gaze on the floor in front of you. First, I'd like you to feel the sensation of the feet on the ground, or maybe of the chair beneath you if you're sitting in a chair. Just noticing where the body comes into contact with the seat or the floor beneath you. Bringing the attention to the breath now. Just noticing the breath wherever you feel it most in the body. That might be at the chest or belly, rising and falling. It could be the air coming in and out of the nostrils at the tip of the nose. It might be at the back of the throat. Just noticing what the breath feels like in your body right now. Now I'd like to invite you to bring to mind someone whom you feel safe and at ease around. This could be a person, maybe it's a parent or a grandparent, could be a close friend. Might be an animal, could be a pet, your dog or your cat. There's no need to pick the perfect person or being here. Just allowing whoever comes to mind to be the one you choose. Now, seeing if you can get a sense of feeling safe and at ease in this person's presence. You might visualize yourself sitting next to them. If it feels comfortable for you, maybe they're hugging you. If it's your pet, they may be up in your lap. And see if you can imagine this person or animal turning to you and saying, "You're safe. You got this." Knowing that this being really cares for you, allowing that sense of care, sense of ease, sense of safety to grow. Okay, we're going to let go of the visualization now. You can come back to the room, allowing your eyes to flutter open if they were closed. And coming back to the screen. So this is a technique that we can use, again, if we have some time. If you have the time and space to find a quiet moment for yourself where you can close your eyes and settle in a little bit, this is a really good place for this technique. If you practice this technique when you're feeling good, if it's something that you can train your mind to bring up easily, this is something that we can have with us at all times. We can call forward the presence of this safe, caring being when we're on the move, when we're in a conversation, when we're skiing, when we're waiting to drop in. The more you practice this technique, the more available it's going to be for you in any situation. All right, everyone. Thanks so much for listening today, and I hope you all have a great rest of your season.